The new girl across the hall had a fire break out in her apartment. My husband rushed into the flames trying to save her, but I stopped him. The young girl ultimately perished in the fire. 5 months later, my husband snapped and set our house ablaze. I screamed for help, clutching our 5-day-old baby. His venomous voice echoed from outside the door. Jiang Wei, if it weren't for you, man and our child would still be alive. I wouldn't have become this wretched. Now it's time for your atonement. After rebirth, facing my frantic husband, I chose to send him straight to hell. 1. Siasiki broke into cold sweat seeing smoke billowing from across the hall, yet hesitated to speak up. Terrified I'd notice his panic, I sweetly reminded him, darling, the opposite unit seems to be on fire. Man still trapped inside, you should go save her. After saying this, Siasiki turned to look at me with disbelief. Darling, sweetheart, are you actually saying you'd let me go save her? His voice trembled with uncertainty. My face showed even more urgency than his. Anyone watching would have thought it was my lover trapped in that fire. Of course, lives are at stake. This is no joking matter. Go now. As I spoke, I gave him a shove, pushing the bewildered man out the door. The fire's too intense. I'd better stay with the kids. You've got this, honey. With that, I scurried off in my slippers without a backward glance. My legs gave out the moment I escaped the apartment building, collapsing onto the pavement like a puppet with its strings cut. In our past life, those few minutes Siasiki lost because of my interference cost Lin Man dearly. She succumbed to smoke inhalation before help arrived. The cruel irony. Police investigations later proved Lin Man had started the fire herself. After Lin Man's death, Siasiki sank into prolonged melancholy. During an argument, he screamed at me hysterically, "If you hadn't stopped me back then, I could have saved her." His outburst startled me, but then he rushed over apologizing. "I'm so sorry, honey, I can't forgive myself. She was so young." Looking back now, Siasiki must have despised me with every fiber of his being back then. That's why even when I gave birth to our daughter via C-section, he still set me ablaze. Let me endure every ounce of suffering Lin Man went through. By heaven's mercy, I've been granted a second chance at life. This time around, I'll rewrite our fate without fail, too. Good heavens, how did this fire start out of nowhere? Hey, isn't this Xiao Jiang from the 12th floor? Why are you here alone in your condition? Where's your husband? The whole building evacuated when the fire broke out. It was Auntie Chen from the 11th floor who spoke. I often bake at home and share treats with neighbors. That's how we gradually became closer. When Aunt Chen asked, I immediately squeezed out a couple of tears, putting on a worried face. Aunt Chen. It's our neighbors across the hall. Their place is on fire. My husband rushed over to help, but with flames this fierce, if anything happens to him, how will I go on living? That Xia is really thoughtless. His wife's heavily pregnant, yet he's off playing hero. Aunt Chen indignantly took my side, then after a pause added hesitantly, Jiang dear, don't take this the wrong way, but your Xia is such a promising young man. You might want to keep a closer eye on him. I clutched my stomach pretending not to understand. Aunt Chen looked at me disapprovingly and said, Xiao Jiang, I'm only speaking up because you're about my daughter's age. I've seen Siasiki carrying groceries and packages for that woman across the hall multiple times. Huh, Aunt Chen, are you suggesting? No way, Siasiki isn't that kind of person. He's just overly helpful and kind-hearted. The moment I finished speaking, the people around me shot me complicated looks. Aunt Chen grew frantic when she saw my skepticism, immediately pulling out her phone to show me a photo. Look at these two, they might as well be glued together. I hesitated to speak up as an outsider, not wanting to meddle in your marriage, but after today's crisis with Siasiki nowhere to be found, it's clear he's unreliable. I couldn't stay silent any longer. The photo showed Lin Man blushing demurely, with my husband Siasiki carrying groceries in one hand while his other arm encircled her waist. So they'd been this brazen all along, and here I was, acting like a fool. Whenever Lin Man across the way had trouble, I'd always think poor girl and send Siasiki to help her, yet they were carrying on right under my nose, probably getting off on the thrill of almost getting caught. What am I, just another pawn in their game? If Siasiki got tired of me and fell for someone else, he could have just told me straight. I'd have let him go gracefully. Why drag two lives down with this? With tears in my eyes, I thanked Aunt Chen and asked her to send that photo to my WeChat. 3. Thanks to Siasiki's timely rescue, Lin Man escaped mostly unharmed. She merely passed out from inhaling too much smoke. But Siasiki wasn't so fortunate this time around. He suffered burns across his entire body, with his right hand being the most severely injured. Even if he survives, His right hand is done for. When I heard the news, I nearly burst out laughing, but I kept up the act of profound grief. Without bothering to tidy up, I just threw on a jacket and rushed straight to the hospital. Siasiki's parents were already keeping vigil by the bedside, their faces etched with anguish. The moment I entered, she started berating me right in front of other patients and their families in the ward. "What kind of wife are you? How could my perfectly healthy son end up like this under your care?" Mother Sia's finger was practically jabbing into my face. Seeing that vicious look on her face, I couldn't fathom how I'd ever tolerated her for Siasiki's sake. My family used to run a business, but tragically both my parents passed away when I was 8, leaving me with a substantial inheritance. Later, I was adopted by my father's close friend, fortunately. My uncle and aunt were wonderful people who raised me as their own daughter. When I first started dating Siasiki, my uncle advised me not to disclose my true family background to his family. After all, it's wise to be cautious about people's intentions. So when Siasiki proposed to me, his parents saw him as a rising entrepreneur whose business was just taking off. How could a woman like me, orphaned and without a decent job, ever be worthy of their precious son? Back then, I was young and naive, thinking Siasiki's love was enough since we wouldn't be living with his parents anyway. I used to endure his mother's passive-aggressive remarks, but now I can't take it anymore. I slapped Mrs. Sia's hand away impatiently and sat down on the stool. "Why ask me? Wait till your precious son wakes up and ask him yourself what he's been doing behind my back." Mrs. Sia was taken aback by my response. Momentarily speechless, recovering her composure, she changed the subject. "Look at this ward. How can anyone rest in this racket? Get my son transferred to a VIP room immediately." A VIP room, the audacity. The hospital room alone costs $800 a day, let alone Siasiki's upcoming treatment expenses. Besides, if others can stay in this ward, why can't Siasiki? Is he made of gold or something? Fine. We'll move out today. I agreed readily. Seeing my agreement, Mrs. Sia nodded approvingly while the tension on Mr. Sia's face eased slightly. "At least you know what's good for you. Make sure to inform the attending physician immediately. Only the best medication for my son." Before their smugness could last 2 seconds, I cut in. "I'm broke. Got any cash yourselves?" The Sia smiles vanished. "What's your game? He's your husband. Are you really abandoning him? Don't forget you're carrying the Gu family's heir. You want your child fatherless from birth. Oh heavens, everyone come see this. My daughter-in-law has ice running through her veins. Her husband's fighting for his life in that hospital bed, and she won't spare a single penny. What kind of woman does such a heartless thing?" By now, a crowd of rubbernecking onlookers had gathered at the ward entrance. Even the patient in the neighboring bed cracked open their curtain, ears perked up like satellite dishes. "Well damn. Jumping straight to emotional blackmail now, are we?" I thrust my visibly pregnant belly forward, cleared my throat, and said with a choked voice, 5. At this point, I've thrown all shame to the wind. "Mom, Dad, did you know Siasiki has been cheating? Not only did he have an affair, but he moved his mistress right across from us. When her place caught fire, he abandoned his pregnant wife without a second thought and rushed in to save her. That's how he ended up in this state. And now you expect me to take care of him. Tell me, folks. Does that sound right to you? What kind of twisted logic is that?" As these words hung in the air, the crowd around us began shooting contemptuous glances. Damn right, that shameless bastard actually expects his wife to pay for his treatment, in his dreams. If you ask me, that homewrecker should be footing the bill. A flicker of guilt crossed Sia's mother's face, but she doubled down. "Don't talk nonsense. Even if my son fooled around outside, it meant nothing. What man doesn't have wandering eyes? This is all your fault for failing to keep his heart." Growing more self-righteous, she continued, "Like it or not, he's still your husband. Till death, or divorce, do you part. You're obligated to take care of him. Those medical bills are yours to pay." That's well said, but how to manage it is entirely up to me. As for Siasiki, just keep him alive with some medicine. At this point, even if you strip me bare, I've only got 3,000 yuan to my name. Might as well give him everything. Consider it accumulating good karma. Right as we were arguing, a heart-wrenching scream came from the doorway. Chi, 6, Lin Man darted out from behind and threw herself onto Siasiki, sobbing uncontrollably. It must have been painful for her. Siasiki was completely wrapped in bandages. "Chi, what's wrong? Open your eyes and look at me, please. It's Man." Lin Man's tears fell like peas. Anyone would have mistaken her for Siasiki's actual wife. Clutching Siasiki's uninjured hand, she sobbed uncontrollably, "Ah Chi, you must pull through, our child can't grow up without a father." The rubbernecking crowd nearly popped their eyeballs out. The neighboring patient apparently found eavesdropping through curtains unsatisfactory. They yanked the divider open for front row drama. Mrs. Sia was the first to snap out of it, shooting her nearby husband a meaningful glance. Mr. Sia promptly but gently pulled Lin Manman away from Siasiki. "How could you make such wild accusations, young lady? Our son doesn't even know you." Unfortunately, Lin Manman completely missed the subtext of Mr. Sia's words and grew even more distressed. "Dad, it's me, Manman. Siki even brought me home for Mid-Autumn Festival dinner last year. That day when you said Jiangwei never came back for Mid-Autumn dinners all these years. Am I really the only daughter-in-law you'd ever accept?" So Siasiki's parents knew about his affair all along. How enlightening. Last Mid-Autumn Festival should have been my parents' death anniversary. They died in a car crash rushing home for the holiday years ago. That's why I don't celebrate it. Siasiki's known this since the day we met. Siasiki used to accompany me for the memorial rituals every year before heading back to have dinner with his parents. Last year he broke our arrangement for the first time, claiming urgent business at his startup. I understood his struggles as an entrepreneur and didn't make a fuss. Little did I know, he was actually taking Lin Manman home to meet his parents instead. This juicy twist really gave the spectators an eyeful. Clearly the husband's parents knew about his affair all along. Here stands his lawfully wedded wife heavily pregnant, while the mistress is already calling them mom and dad. 7. At this point, Mr. and Mrs. Sia could no longer maintain their composure. Mrs. Sia practically flew to the door and slammed it shut. She glanced at Siasiki weeping pitifully, then turned her gaze to my expressionless face before suddenly sneering. "See, Jiangwei, this is exactly why my son never liked you. When Siki's in serious trouble today, his own wife shows no concern, while Manman's the only one who truly cares." She walked over to Lin Manman and helped her sit down on the stool. "You know perfectly well I never approved of your relationship from the start." As she spoke, she gave me a disdainful once-over. "After all, your family background is worlds apart from ours, but Siki was blind enough to insist on marrying you back then. Now he's found someone truly suited for him, though Manman's family isn't well off either. At least she listens to Siki and knows how to take care of him. She's leagues better than you'll ever be." I laughed in sheer disbelief. I knew his family was shameless, but never imagined they'd stoop this low. Little do they know, Siasiki's company would have sunk long ago without my behind-the-scenes funding and connections. They've always assumed I'm living off their precious son, when in truth I've been humoring his fragile male ego all along. Composing myself, I ran a hand over my belly and said coolly, "So you're saying you're rejecting both your daughter-in-law and the grandson I'm carrying?" Mrs. Sia glanced at Lin Manman's belly and said smugly, "That thing in your womb is just a worthless girl. Our Sia family's real heir is growing in our Manman's belly." Lin Manman lowered her head, touching her flat stomach with a bashful expression. Hearing this, everything suddenly became clear to me. When we first discovered the pregnancy, both Siasiki and I were overjoyed. 8. Snuggling in his arms, I asked, "Honey, do you prefer having a son or daughter?" Siasiki looked at me adoringly and said, "I'll love any child you give birth to." After a pause, he added, "But if I'm being honest, I'd love a little girl who takes after you." I hesitated, remembering his mother's words at our wedding about their Sia family's generations-long single-line inheritance, demanding I bear them a male heir. "But your parents seem to prefer grandsons." Siasiki's eyes flickered. "You're marrying me, not them. Their opinions don't matter." Overjoyed by his words, I planted a kiss on his cheek. Back then, my whole heart belonged to him, so when he suggested finding out the gender early, I agreed. The clinic doctor scanned for a full half-hour before finally announcing, "Congratulations, it's a baby girl." When we confirmed it was indeed a daughter, I noticed Siasiki's expression falter momentarily before returning to normal. He happily helped me up from the bed, gently touching my belly as he said, "How wonderful, we're really having a girl." Looking back, I realize he was deceiving me all along. His parents disliked me, and they didn't want our unborn daughter either. Even he preferred having a son. He kept wavering between me and Lin Manman, calculating the pros and cons. Perhaps he'd already decided to divorce me, but Lin Manman jumped the gun by setting that fire and sealing her own fate. That's why he hates me so much, wants me dead and buried. Siasiki, since you love her and her child this much, I'll let you have your way in this lifetime. Maybe you should thank me. swallowing the bitterness in my heart, I said coldly, since we've come this far, let's get divorced, but before that, we need to settle things properly. Shioseki cheated first and even had a child with his mistress, the property division should rightfully favor me. 9. Not that I care about Shioseki's petty money, but I'll be damned if I let these people benefit from it. When I mentioned claiming a larger share of assets, Xia's parents stayed silent, but Lin Manman immediately lost her composure. She shrieked, Jiang Wei, how shameless can you be? You've never held a job since being with Siki, just playing housewife. How dare you demand a share of the property? I couldn't help rolling my eyes at her. What century did you time travel from? Who says homemakers contribute nothing? Sure, I don't earn money, but without me managing everything on the home front. Do you really think he could live carefree? Becoming a stay-at-home wife was Shioseki's idea. He begged me to do it. He said he could provide for us now, so I didn't need to work so hard, just hold down the fort at home for him. Tell me, what single thing in this household haven't I handled personally? Take Shioseki's mother for example, that woman's health is constantly failing, with him being swamped at work. It's always me taking his mother to the hospital, when she was hospitalized. I ran myself ragged attending to her every need short of changing bedpans. What more do you want from me? I simply don't have the time or patience to deal with these people. My lawyer will handle all divorce proceedings with you. With that final remark, I stood up and walked away from this toxic situation. Coming home again and seeing the neighboring house burned beyond recognition truly breaks my heart. Property here costs an arm and a leg, yet Lin Manman just went ahead and burned it down. 10. I'll make sure she compensates me for every penny of this loss. Even our current residence wasn't spared from the fire's reach. Haunted by terrifying memories of my past life, I packed 2 sets of clothes and moved into my other property. After my evening shower, I lay in bed absent-mindedly stroking my belly. Today marks exactly 5 months, just 5 more months until she's born, but her father's a monster. And now I'm torn about whether to bring her into this world. Just then, the baby gave me a strong kick. I remembered giving birth to her in my past life. I'd gone into labor naturally, but after enduring contractions for over 10 hours, I still couldn't deliver. I immediately opted for a C-section. When I first saw her, her wrinkled little face looked absolutely hideous. Just as Shioseki had hoped, the child bore an uncanny resemblance to my younger self. In that moment, the sheer joy of first-time motherhood enveloped me. So much so that I overlooked the glaring fact Shioseki had never once held our child since her birth. He probably saw my reflection in the baby's face and transferred his resentment accordingly. But why? The child is innocent. Her father took her life once in our past existence. Must I, as her mother, rob her of life again in this one? This time, Shioseki still chose to pursue true love. I'll cut all ties with him completely, then live out the rest of my days peacefully with my child. I slept like a log and didn't wake up until 10:30 in the morning. I'd put my phone on silent before bed last night, and now it showed over 100 missed calls. 11, all from Mr. and Mrs. Xia. I returned Mrs. Xia's call. The moment the call connected, Mrs. Xia started wailing hysterically. Jiang Wei, where the hell were you last night? Shioseki was rushed to emergency and is still in ICU now. The doctors say he could die any minute, and ICU costs tens of thousands per day. Get your ass over here and pay up. Her outburst completely stunned me. Honestly, if Shioseki's in ICU now, he's lucky I don't pull the plug myself, and she expects me to pay for his treatment. This family is utterly despicable. When Xia's mother kept calling later, I hung up immediately and blocked her number. That afternoon, an unknown number called. Hello, this is Chaoyang Road Police Station. May I speak with MS. Jiang Wei? To my shock, Xia's parents actually filed a police report, accusing me of abandoning my dying husband and claiming I'd swindled Shioseki out of all his money. Shioseki and I had been married for 3 years, yet I'd never handled our finances. How could all his money possibly be with me? After careful consideration, I borrowed 2 bodyguards from my uncle and headed to the hospital. The Xia parents and Lin Manman, who looked visibly ill, were waiting outside the ICU. 2 police officers stood beside them. 12, when I appeared, Mrs. Xia's eyes turned bloodshot as she screamed hysterically, "Officers, it's her. This heartless woman swindled my son out of his money and left him unable to pay his medical bills. Arrest her now." The officer gave me a stern look and asked formally, "What's your relationship with Shioseki?" "Marital relationship." The questioning officer and his colleague gave strange looks toward me and the 3 members of the Xia family. Noticing the officer's confusion about our relationships, I kindly clarified, officers, I'm Siasiki's lawful wife, those two are Siasiki's parents, my parents-in-law. As for the other woman, she's my husband's mistress. My husband got injured and hospitalized precisely because he tried to save her. As for money matters, in our 3 years of marriage, I've never taken a single cent from him beyond household necessities. You're welcome to verify this. Right now, all I have to my name is 3,000 yuan, which I'm willing to spend entirely on his treatment. The Xie family members exploded upon hearing this. His mother looked ready to devour me whole. Who the hell are you trying to fool, you little bitch? 3,000 yuan wouldn't even satisfy a beggar. And if my son's money didn't go to you, then who? The damn ghosts. At this point, both police officers were looking at me with undisguised pity. Alright, we've got the gist of the situation. This is family business, you're better off handling it yourselves. With that, the two officers walked away without looking back. The rest of us were left staring at each other in stunned silence. Just then, Siasiki's attending physician emerged from the ICU, who's Siasiki's family member, 13. The Xie parents hastily pushed me forward. Here, this is the patient's wife. The patient's condition is critical and life-threatening. Of course, family members shouldn't panic. We doctors will do everything possible, but you'll need to discuss the medical expenses. Given the current situation, prepare at least 500,000 yuan up front. I raised an eyebrow. Getting 500,000 from the Xies would be like pulling teeth. Back then, I even bought their household toilet paper online for them. Looking back, I was such a lovesick fool. Despite spending so much money on the Xie family, they still looked down on me. Had I known better, I'd have used that money to help stray dogs instead. At least they'd wag their tails at me. They're worse than dogs. Jiang Wei, did you hear what the doctor said? Hurry up and get the money ready, Mrs. Xie anxiously tried to push me, but fortunately my bodyguard reacted swiftly and shielded me. Jiang Wei, how dare you defy heaven itself? You'd even strike your own mother-in-law. Old man Xie glared furiously. I found it laughable. Just yesterday you insisted Lin Man was the only daughter-in-law you'd recognize. What's this? Suddenly I'm your daughter-in-law again when you need money. Seeing me unmoved, Mr. Xie changed tactics. Jiang Wei, are you really going to stand by and watch Siqi die? Don't forget, even if you divorce, the child in your womb will still call Siqi father. And us grandparents, ugh, even my unborn child would find this disgusting. Pretending to be swayed, I put on a conflicted expression and heaved a deep sigh. Honestly, it's not that I'm unwilling to contribute financially, I genuinely don't have access to funds. Think about it, his heart's never been with me. Why would he ever entrust me with money? My implication couldn't have been clearer. Mr. and Mrs. Xie immediately shifted their gaze toward Lin Man, who'd remained silent throughout. I'd already arranged for an investigation before coming here. Siasiki and Lin Man have been carrying on their affair for 2 years, meaning he'd already been unfaithful during our first year of marriage. 14. Over the past 2 years, he's transferred nearly 1 million yuan to Lin Man just for pocket money. Even the 1 million yuan house across from ours ended up under her name. What's even more absurd is that after Lin Man's pregnancy test revealed she was carrying a son, he gradually transferred his assets. Now almost all the money Siasiki worked so hard to earn these years has ended up in Lin Man's name. I never imagined she'd now refuse to part with even 500,000 yuan. Apparently Siasiki was the only one who took this affair seriously. Lin Man only ever cared about the money, judging by the Xie parents' reactions. I suspect they're completely unaware that Siasiki's money ended up in Lin Man's hands. Seeing the dark expressions on the Xie parents' faces, Lin Man trembled fearfully. Dad, Mom, Siki did give me some money, but that was for childbirth expenses. Mrs. Xie turned livid with anger, her patience wearing thin. Man, how could you be so short-sighted? Once Siki recovers, what's this measly 500,000 yuan? Stop making excuses and go pay the medical bills now. Lin Man stammered hesitantly before cautiously responding. Mom, it's not about the money, as the doctor just said. Siki's condition is critical. I'm afraid we might lose both the money and him if the treatment fails. Hearing Lin Man's words, Mr. and Mrs. Xie's expressions immediately darkened. What do you mean by that? He's our only son. Regardless, you'll pay that 500,000 first. With no other choice, Lin Man slunk off to make the payment, but fate had other plans. No sooner had Lin Man paid the sum than doctors began swarming into the ward in waves. Mr. Xie went to the stairwell for a smoke while Mrs. Xie was pacing anxiously outside. 15, Lin Manman sat nearby, weakly cradling her belly. I'd forgotten she was still recovering herself, counting the weeks. She's not even 3 months along yet. Between the burns and the devastating news, I don't know if the baby can withstand all this trauma. 2 hours later, the exhausted doctor emerged from the ward to announce Siasiki's multiple organ failure. They'd done all they could. The family was granted 10 final minutes to say goodbye. Mr. and Mrs. Sia wailed as they rushed toward the ward. Lin Manman's already pale face turned ashen. After hesitating for a few seconds, she bit her lip through tears and followed. I ambled along at the rear. Siasiki now lay unconscious in the hospital bed, his nose and mouth covered by a ventilator. The doctors said his life was being sustained solely by the ventilator. Without it, he'd pass within minutes. 3 people crowded around Siasiki's hospital bed, shouting his name desperately, hoping against hope to rouse him. Sia's parents wailed heartrendingly, "My son, oh my son, how can we go on living without you?" The loss of an only son carrying the family line for generations certainly warranted such grief. As for Lin Manman, she was sobbing uncontrollably too. Losing your golden goose would make anyone cry. I stood coldly by the bed, watching these people, suddenly, overwhelmed by grief. Mrs. Sia collapsed onto Siasiki, 16. Doctors scrambled to carry Mrs. Sia to the adjacent bed for emergency treatment. Old Mr. Sia was momentarily torn over which tragedy to mourn first, until he simply rolled his eyes back and fainted outright. At this moment, I icily addressed the doctor. "Do us a favor, Doc, pull the plug." Lin Manman gripped Siasiki's hand violently, screaming, "You lying bastard. You promised me forever." I leaned close to Siasiki's ear and whispered. Whether he could hear me or not, "Your turn to atone for what you did to me and our child, Siasiki, rot in hell." Upon hearing this, Siasiki's eyes widened with sudden clarity, burning with fury as he glared at me. Over a minute later, his heart flatlined. The doctor came over to ask how we should handle Siasiki's remains, with no other immediate family left standing. I replied indifferently, "Take it to the crematorium." Lin Manman was still sobbing when I left, her wails giving me a splitting headache. The Sia parents and Lin Manman arrived at the funeral home the next day. By then, Siasiki was reduced to nothing but an urn of ashes. 17. Mrs. Sia's hair turned white overnight, aging what seemed like 20 years. Mr. Sia wasn't faring any better either. As the couple supported each other stumbling toward the memorial altar, staring at Siasiki's funerary urn, Mrs. Sia said with red-rimmed eyes, "Jiang Wei, how could you be so heartless? You had my son cremated the moment he died." I kept tapping the screen to burn virtual joss paper. "What else? Don't forget Siasiki and I are still legally married. As his immediate family member, I have every right to do this. I should actually thank him for sparing me the hassle of divorce. Becoming a widow straightaway is much more convenient." Lin Manman's tears came on cue. "Jiang Wei, you're absolutely heartless. How could you cremate Siki just like that when he's barely cold?" I looked up at her. "What, would you rather bury Siasiki in your backyard? As long as we're not divorced, you'll always be the other woman, got it?" Lin Manman was left speechless by my retort. Seeing this, Mrs. Sia immediately jumped in. "Jiang Wei, how dare you spout such nonsense? Man is carrying Siki's child after all. She's the Sia family's benefactor. Now that Siki's gone, you two should be like sisters. You ought to look out for her more. Are they blatantly trying to take me for a fool?" Fighting back bitter laughter, I calmly pulled out the asset division agreement my lawyer drafted last night from my bag. It meticulously documented every penny of Siasiki's and my marital joint assets. 18. I'd thoughtfully prepared 3 copies of the agreement, distributing one to each of them. "Funny you should mention it, Lin Manman. Every cent Siasiki spent on you these past 2 years came from our joint assets. I'm legally entitled to reclaim it. As for Siasiki's measly inheritance, after I retrieve it from Lin Manman, the 4 of us will split it equally." The 3 of them were stunned. "Equal shares," I kindly explained. "The 4 of us, my dear in-laws, myself, and the baby I'm carrying." Lin Manman thrust out her belly and shrieked, "This is Siasiki's son inside me. Siki promised all his assets would go to our boy." The Sia parents nodded eagerly. "Absolutely, Man carries the only heir to our Sia family lineage. Naturally, Siki's entire estate should go to this child. Her belly holds Siasiki's child." I chuckled. "Where's the proof?" Lin Manman snapped. "This is Siki's flesh and blood. We can take a paternity test if you don't believe me." "Oh, but Siasiki's already been reduced to ashes. How's that supposed to work, moron?" If you're gonna be a homewrecker, a high-risk profession, at least bother studying the relevant laws, Sia's mother suddenly shouted. We're done arguing, that money isn't getting returned, period. I stood up, dusted my hands, and sighed, fine, see you in court. Before the inheritance lawsuit over Siasiki's estate, we were nearly sued alongside Lin Manman by homeowners affected in the previous fire incident. The investigation into the fire has concluded, with all evidence pointing to Lin Manman committing arson intentionally. 19. This ultimately led directly to Siasiki's death and caused varying degrees of property damage to multiple homes in the residential complex. In court, Lin Manman tearfully explained she only meant to fake setting a fire as a suicide attempt to scare Siasiki, who kept delaying their promised divorce until she felt forced to take desperate measures. She truly never expected the fire to spiral out of control. Growing increasingly fierce, she didn't mean to cause Siasiki's death. With clear facts and irrefutable evidence, the judge convicted Lin Manman of arson resulting in 1 fatality and multiple property damages. Lin Manman was ultimately sentenced to 7 years imprisonment and ordered to compensate affected property owners. Initially, considering Lin Manman was still pregnant, she could have applied for serving her sentence outside prison. But Lin Manman suffered a miscarriage unexpectedly on her second day back at the Sia residence. I later learned that Mr. and Mrs. Sia had confronted her after discovering she was responsible for their son's death. In a fit of rage, Mrs. Sia shoved Lin Manman. Normally, Lin Manman was nearly 4 months pregnant. A simple fall shouldn't have caused a miscarriage, but her pregnancy had been extremely difficult from the start, leaving her body weakened. That single fall triggered bleeding. The Sia family rushed her to the hospital in panic, but the doctors could only promise to try their best to save the pregnancy. Old Mrs. Sia nearly knelt and kowtowed to beg the doctors, but in the end, they couldn't preserve the family's sole heir. Lin Manman delivered the stillborn baby, and when the doctor showed it to Mr. and Mrs. Sia, it was indeed a boy. Mrs. Sia was so enraged she spat out blood on the spot before collapsing unconscious, fresh from her abortion procedure. Lin Manman now faces my lawsuit. This time, I'm demanding Lin Manman repay every single transfer my husband Siasiki made to her over these past 2 years. 20. In the courtroom, Lin Manman turned to me with a deathly pale face and pleaded, Jiang Wei, I've already received the punishment I deserve. Can't you just let me go? No, if you chose this path, you should have the courage to face the consequences. If I were the one standing in the defendant's dock today, I'm certain Lin Manman wouldn't spare me either. In my past life, her reckless actions indirectly caused the deaths of me and my child. That night, the inferno raged as my 5-day-old daughter choked silently in my arms, too overwhelmed by smoke to even cry. Siasiki had locked every window beforehand. No matter how desperately I begged or screamed, he coldly watched us burn behind those barred doors. Their mistakes were paid for with my daughter's life and mine. In the end, Lin Manman sold the house at a low price and liquidated all the luxury goods and jewelry Siasiki had given her over the years, transferring the proceeds to me. There was still $1 million left unpaid, so she formally issued me an IOU under judicial supervision. Combined with her previous debts, this means she'll spend the rest of her life repaying what she owes after being released from prison, with everything settled. I wired the portion of the inheritance belonging to Sia's parents directly to their account. This sum of money would be more than enough for them to live out their golden years comfortably and with dignity, provided they don't squander it. 21. When my due date arrived this time, I opted straight for a C-section, sparing myself much of the ordeal, right on schedule, just as in my past life. My daughter came crying into the world. The doctor held her up to me, and I gently touched my lips to her forehead. My aunt came to help with my postpartum confinement, though I'd originally planned to hire a maternity nurse or stay at a postnatal care center, but Aunt insisted on coming herself, saying she wouldn't feel at ease otherwise. At my daughter's full moon celebration, the Sia parents lingered outside for a long time but never came in. They just had a waiter deliver a red envelope to me. Inside were a bank card and a longevity locket. My heart felt all warm and fuzzy when my daughter turned 3. Grandma Sia was critically ill and wished to see her granddaughter one last time. After much hesitation, I finally took the child to the hospital. My grievances with them shouldn't affect an innocent child. The moment she saw her granddaughter, Grandma Sia burst into tears, her gaze filled with tender love and profound regret. But there was no chance to start over. The end. Story 2. I traveled back 10 years, to the day when my husband confessed his love for me, overjoyed. I finally seized the opportunity. This time, I'm determined to help Jiangbai marry a wealthy and beautiful woman, propelling him to the pinnacle of life. 1. I went back to that afternoon 10 years ago in high school, when Jiangbai confessed his feelings to me. Thank heavens, I, Jiangqing, am willing to mix meat and veggies for a lifetime. Oh no, I mean strictly veggies, in gratitude for your great kindness. My eyes sparkled as I fixed my gaze on Jiangbai, who was concentrating on his work. No wonder he looks so handsome even when he's studying. He's like a limited edition campus husband, missing a single glance is a loss. Jiangbai, also known as Comrade Jiang Xiaobai, is a well-known campus heartthrob, my high school desk mate and childhood friend. We joyfully went through elementary, middle, and high school together, and even got married in the future. He's perfect in every way, handsome, distinguished, excellent in academics, and a decathlete. Aside from being a bit cold and reserved, he has no faults, truly a heart-stealer. Unfortunately, in my past life, for some reason, he fell for me and, just like that, we ended up getting married. We had 3 years of happiness in those 10 years, the rest of the days were nothing but terrible. In this lifetime, I must ensure Comrade Jiang Xiaobai's happiness. I stared at Jiangbai thirstily for a long time, until he seemingly felt it and slowly turned around. Our eyes met, with a bang. He suddenly fell off his chair. Me, seriously, are my eyes that terrifying? I'm getting a bit angry now. 2. According to my memory, today, after class, when only Jiangbai and I are left on duty, he will make a heartfelt confession. He would typically kneel with flowers in hand, passionately saying, "Qing Qing, my darling, please be with me. I truly love you so much," and such. This cold senior officer would never actually do that. Instead, as we were cleaning the blackboard together, with an unruffled expression, he casually said, "Jiangqing, I like you, would you consider me?" If I hadn't seen his tightly clenched fist, his ears flushed red, and the rag in his hand dripping with water from his tight grip, I might think he was asking me, "Jiangqing, have you eaten?" Such a pure and simple way to confess. Comrade Jiang Xiaobai, you're incredible. I always thought it was just me who had a crush on him. Turns out, it was mutual, but this time, I won't let the story unfold as it should. I'm going to tear up the campus love script with Comrade Jiang Xiaobai and help him marry a wealthy beauty, leading him to the pinnacle of life. After all, there's no happy ending for Comrade Jiang Xiaobai and me together. 3. I'm Jiangqing, loved by everyone, a delight to flowers, a positive, sunny, and healthy beautiful girl. 3 years after marrying Comrade Jiangbai, I was diagnosed with an elegant and hereditary disease called ALS. I don't know if it's related to the father I've never met. Simply put, the disease causes muscles to slowly atrophy and then gradually lose life. The moment I found out, I was shocked. I'd always felt that marrying such a good husband as Jiangbai couldn't be because I traded my life for it. It might just be true. I was still worried about the 7-year itch with Comrade Jiangbai, but now it looks like I might not even live to see our 7th year together. Light a candle for myself, fortunately. Thanks to Comrade Jiangbai's meticulous care and my relentless efforts, I made it to our 10th year of marriage. Then, I faced the greatest challenge that has existed since time immemorial, childbirth. There was no way around it. In the years I've been declining in health, it has become increasingly obvious that Comrade Jiang Xiaobai was forcing a smile. I was genuinely afraid that after I was gone, he might do something drastic out of despair. Anyway, I was bound to leave this world sooner or later, so I wanted to try my best to leave him a child for some solace. Turns out, I overestimated myself. Once again, I light a candle for myself. The past is dark and irretrievable, but the road ahead is bright and splendid. Fortunately, fate was kind, giving me a chance to make it up to Comrade Jiang Xiaobai. I must quench this budding flame of love before it grows any stronger, snuff it out in its cradle, and scatter the ashes. 4. The means and methods of the act are debatable, but first, I need to get past the immediate hurdle. In the empty classroom, only Jiangbai and I remained. To avoid a confession scene, I immediately moved away from the podium and sent Jiangbai alone to erase the blackboard. I quietly watched his figure standing in front of the blackboard, tall, upright, and slender. Even his blackboard erasing is as beautiful as a painting. Truly worthy of being my husband. Little did I know, Jiangbai was quick and efficient, cleaning the blackboard in no time and then turning to grab a broom. I hurriedly moved to the other side of the classroom, putting distance between us, pretending to be deeply focused on sweeping. While sweeping, a pair of white shoes appeared in front of me. Oops, it had to be Jiangbai. Pretending not to see, I turned to sneak away, but Jiangbai stopped me with a soft call. Jiangqing, I reluctantly raised my head, meeting his indignantly handsome face. He was about to speak, and my pupils dilated. Wow, isn't the sky beautiful today, don't you think so, Comrade Jiang Xiaobai? Jiangbai looked where I pointed, at the unremarkable dusk sky. Still, he humored me with a He was about to speak again, and my pupils dilated once more. Wow, this floor is really clean, don't you think so, Comrade Jiang Xiaobai? Jiangbai, but he humored me again with a After a few repetitions, Jiangbai fell silent. He took some candies out of his pocket. I saw them and thought, great, my favorite bubble gum from the store at the gate, now discontinued, darn it, to accept or not to accept. After we graduated, the manufacturer of this candy had closed down. It was only after I got sick and brought Jiangbai back to our alma mater to reminisce about campus life that I realized I couldn't get this candy anymore. And I've been craving it for years. Darn it, I gave in. I tore open a strawberry-flavored wrapper and quietly started chewing, still the familiar taste, so sweet. Jiangbai smiled. As he was about to speak again, I quickly tore open a watermelon-flavored one and stuffed it into his mouth. Ah, I'm too smart, this intelligence of mine, I should be getting a script for a palace drama. He was slightly taken aback. I said, try blowing a bubble, funny, back in the day. Jiangbai always struggled to blow bubbles and was teased by me for a long time after we got married. Little did I know, Jiangbai quietly chewed a few times and easily blew a bubble. Well done, Jiang Xiaobai. They say a man can change greatly in just 3 days. Were you just pretending all those years? I was utterly shocked. But don't think I can't handle you anymore. I clapped my hands in praise. Wow, Jiangbai, you're so skilled. Blow another one. Wow, this bubble is so perfect. Let's make another. Comrade Jiang Xiaobai got lost in himself amidst my constant praise, creating bubbles one after another. Ah, men. As Jiangbai continued his efforts to blow another large bubble, I secretly pinched my face to adjust my expression, and said with a smile brimming with laughter, Jiangbai, I have some good news for you. I've fallen for someone. He's in our class, a really good person, and I like him a lot. With a pop, the bubble burst. Jiangbai looked at me, his expression somewhat bewildered. After a moment, he looked down at me and said softly, I didn't quite catch what you just said. I said, I've fallen for someone. I tried to give him a radiant smile. Jiangbai didn't react for a moment. He seemed as if someone had hit the pause button, trying hard to process what I had just said. After a while, he murmured a low then he slowly smiled and said, that's great. Jiangbai's right little finger twitched slightly. That was a sign he was lying. 5. So, I had made my confession, but in the following days, I could still feel Jiangbai's gaze on me growing longer and more intense, as if he had never seen me before in his life. It seemed he hadn't fully let go. After all, matters of the heart are indeed hard to break off. I pondered over it. Time and a new love seemed to be the most effective tools. I couldn't wait for time. So a new love was my first choice. I silently turned my head, looking towards Lu Yuanyuan. Not far away, Jiangbai was like a magnet for admirers, with countless girls at our school fond of our comrade Jiang Xiaobai, but among them, Lu Yuanyuan was definitely among the top contenders, a great beauty, with a good family background, excellent in her studies, gentle, caring, and talented. Most importantly, I heard in my past life that she remained unmarried for so many years, silently waiting for Jiang Xiaobai, deeply in love, originally, after learning about my illness. I wanted to set her up with Jiangbai, but he firmly rejected the idea. But now, the situation was different. The timing, the conditions, and the people were all aligned. Sister Yuanyuan, you have good taste, and I will temporarily entrust Jiang Xiaobai, such an outstanding comrade, to you. I thought to myself coolly, feeling a bit sour inside. Ah, lemons on the lemon tree, and beneath it, just me. 6. I planned to get closer to Lu Yuanyuan, from what I remember, in a few days during the exercise break. Some girls from other classes who were jealous of Lu Yuanyuan would lock her in the restroom and splash water in from outside. This had caused quite a stir at the time, but then it quietly settled down. So, during the next few days' exercise breaks, I kept a close watch on Lu Yuanyuan's every move. Finally, today, I saw her heading towards the restroom, followed by a few girls. I secretly followed them, and by the time I arrived, Lu Yuanyuan was already trapped in a stall, helplessly beating on the door, her voice tinged with sobs. The girls outside blocked the door, laughing and mocking her, a bucket filled with water at their feet, seemingly ready to throw it inside. What kind of school violence is this? It made me furious. I quickly took a few seconds of video with my prepared phone, then grabbed a mop standing by the door and went in, hitting earnestly and without holding back. The girls were caught off guard and tangled up with me, with no one blocking the door. Lu Yuanyuan got out. Unexpectedly, she didn't run away, she cried and helped me. The scene was chaotic until we heard a distinct roar. "What are you all doing?" The female disciplinary officer stood at the door, glaring at us. Lu Yuanyuan and I, along with a few other girls, entered the disciplinary office. The disciplinary officer was someone I had asked a classmate to summon in advance. Calmly, I showed the officer the video on my phone, and then Lu Yuanyuan explained the situation. The girls could only watch as the undeniable evidence unfolded before their eyes. Considering I appeared to be quite injured and had acted righteously, the disciplinary officer did not pursue the matter of my having a phone, merely giving me a verbal warning before sending me to the medical office. As soon as I left the office, I encountered Jiang Bai leaning against the corner of the staircase. It was during class time, and the hallway was empty except for the two of us. Without even thinking, I knew I must look a mess, with hair like a bird's nest and clothes all torn, not to mention the bruises and red marks all over my body. I felt guilty, like a child caught red-handed, nervously fiddling with the hem of my shirt. In the silence, Jiang Bai slowly walked up to me. He took off his school jacket and draped it over me. His movements were gentle, as if I were some fragile, precious porcelain that could crack at the slightest touch. I heard his voice tremble as he said, "Jiang Qing, can you please take better care of yourself?" His voice choked up a bit, making my heart skip a beat. I looked up to see him staring at the fresh, striking scratches and wounds on my hands, his expression filled with sorrow. It was as if the pain inflicted on me was somehow transferred to him. That single look was startlingly painful. Even the fight hadn't hurt this much. Feeling somewhat panicked, I forced a smile and said, "It's okay, Comrade Jiang Xiaobai, it doesn't hurt at all." Their punches felt like kitten scratches. "Jiang Xiaobai, why do you look so stern like an old man? Smile a bit, smiling makes you look younger." Jiang Xiaobai, Jiang Bai. But no matter how I tried to lighten the mood with my playful banter, Jiang Bai remained silent. Seeing my pitiful state, Jiang Xiaobai coldly said, "I don't smile because I was born not loving to smile." He silently carried me to the medical office, silently helped me apply medicine, and silently carried me back. I lay on Jiang Bai's back, absent-mindedly watching the soft light coating him and his hair. The lazy sun cast long shadows of us together. As I fixated on our shadows, my heart was in turmoil over Jiang Bai's demeanor. Suddenly, I noticed our shadows had stopped. Jiang Bai suddenly halted and turned to ask me, "Jiang Qing, who is the person you like?" My eyelid twitched, my mind racing. In a moment of panic, I blurted out, Li Zhuxin, who held the prestigious seat beside the teacher's desk, was known as the class ruffian. Overwhelmed by my attentiveness, she incredulously asked me, "Jiang Qing, has the sun risen from the west today? Are you out of your mind?" Turning away from Jiang Bai, I replied with a forced smile, barely audible, "Just take it and keep quiet." I stealthily glanced at Jiang Bai with the corner of my eye and saw him staring intently at us, his grip tightening around the pen he was holding. The thrilling sensation of flirting in front of my husband. Knowing Jiang Bai as I do, I understand that at his core, he is a proud man. He would never pester a woman who already has someone she likes, especially after witnessing this scene. Suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I pretended to be indifferent and continued chatting with Li Zhuxin. Suddenly, the class monitor walked in and announced, "Everyone, our annual autumn outing is about to begin." Instantly, the classroom erupted into cheers and excited shouts. I thought to myself, the autumn outing would be a great opportunity to bring Jiang Bai and Lu Yuanyuan closer together, since forming a comradely bond during our last side-by-side battle. My relationship with Lu Yuanyuan had progressed rapidly, and I had come to realize what a genuinely nice girl she is. Considering her a true friend, if she and Jiang Bai ended up together, I would sincerely bless their union. 9. This year's autumn outing destination was an ancient town, a well-known local scenic spot. As we set off, Jiang Bai, being the class monitor, was seated at the front of the bus to check attendance. Lu Yuanyuan and I sat together. Just as I was about to pretend to be carsick to switch seats with Jiang Bai, letting him sit with Lu Yuanyuan to foster their relationship, Lu Yuanyuan suddenly stood up. She said to Jiang Bai, "Class monitor, I'm feeling a bit carsick. Could we switch seats?" Oh no. Despite all my calculations, I hadn't considered Lu Yuanyuan getting carsick. Jiang Bai nodded and came over to me. I grinned and teased, "Oh, look who's here to join the fun." Jiang Bai replied indifferently, I'm a bit short on cash recently, how about we just play with 5 yuan, darn it, Jianbai, you've changed, you weren't like this before. As the bus slowly started moving, the scenery outside began to change, our classmates chattered away, and suddenly someone suggested we draw lots to decide who would tell a story. The little app randomly selected students, who racked their brains to come up with the most bizarre stories, causing bursts of laughter. I laughed so hard I was bending over backward, and then it was my turn. As expected, what goes up must come down. The topic was to create a short story based on The Little Prince, starring the little prince and the fox, incorporating themes of sobbing, regret, and bond. Well, those words suggested a melodramatic script. After gathering my thoughts under the eager gaze of my classmates, I cleared my throat and began. When the little prince was young and exploring planets, he met a little fox. They spent a delightful time together but soon parted ways. Years later, the little prince remembered the little fox he had accidentally met long ago, with whom he had formed a bond. He wanted to know how the fox was doing, so he set off to find him. But when the little prince returned to that planet, he only found an aging, weary old fox. The little prince realized that the brief bond they had formed in just a few months had left the fox waiting in pain for his return all his life. Holding the fox, the little prince sobbed uncontrollably, filled with regret. He should never have so casually entered the life of a fox. He had tamed the fox, only to leave him. He wished they had never met at all. With the story concluded, comments filled the air in the train compartment. Ah, poor little fox, boo-hoo-hoo, sis give you a hug. Hope I never encounter that, what a sin. I feel like the little prince is such a jerk in this story, too tired to love, boo-hoo. There goes a 40-meter long sword. I returned to my seat, smiling at Jiangbai. I did a good job telling the story, didn't I? Come on, praise me. Jiangbai seemed a bit saddened by the story too, but seeing my enthusiastic demeanor, he smiled and applauded. Very well done, but maybe, just maybe, the little fox did it willingly, if given another chance. The fox would make the same choice, I chuckled and said, but if they had never met, the little fox could have lived a happy life without any pain. Why meet the little prince and start suffering? Jiangbai, do you know, in our future, you were only truly happy for a few scattered years. I fell ill, and you alone bore the burden of expensive medical bills and the heavy responsibilities of our family, even giving up your career prospects to take care of me, and after I died, while my soul hadn't fully faded, I watched you mourn by my grave, living under the shadow of my death, suffering year after year. You could have had a happy, beautiful family, and an enviable life full of joy, but your remaining years were spent mourning my death. Even the heavens pity you, giving you a chance to choose again in this life. I've already held you back a lifetime, I can't be so selfish to hold you back another. Pretending to be tired, I closed my eyes and leaned back in the chair. Jiangbai, at least this time, I must let you find happiness. By then, I might just be a stranger in your world. Silently, I will watch you move towards a bright future, watch you find new love, watch you build a beautiful family, and then I will smile peacefully as I pass away, and you won't need to remember me, you just need to move forward, don't look back. Unaware, I fell asleep on the bus. When I got off, I noticed my classmates looking at me with a hint of amusement. Li Zhuxin quietly came up to me and gave me a thumbs up. Jiangqing, you're awesome. Me, you fell asleep on the bus and kept calling Jiangbai husband while hugging his arm, crying and shouting. Me, help, this is a disaster. Li Zhuxin added in detail. Jiangbai's ears were bright red, and it took him a long time to calm you down before you finally slept peacefully. Now I know why Jiangbai's ears were so red. It turns out I was harassing him. I was so embarrassed I could hardly breathe. Wishing I could just disappear into a crack, Lu Yuan came over to comfort me. Qing, it's okay, it was just a dream. I wanted to cry. After the group gathered to listen to the guide talk about the basic culture of the old town, we were allowed to explore in groups of 4. Me, Lu Yuan, Jiangbai, and Li Zhuxin ended up in one group. Help, what a mess. The old town was beautiful, filled with ancient charm. Decorated with many elements of ancient style, there were distinctive ethnic shops and stalls on both sides, rich in cultural atmosphere. Along the way, Lu Yuan pulled me along, laughing and talking, while Li Zhuxin and Jiangbai followed behind, silent. Suddenly, Lu Yuan, clearly interested, pulled me over to a stall. Upon closer inspection, I saw that the stall had a sign reading wishing pouches. Below it, in small brush-written characters, all your wishes will come true. The stall was lined with rows of tiny, thumb-sized silk pouches, exquisitely cute and available in various colors. Each was delicately embroidered with the word wish, the craftsmanship impeccable. The stall owner greeted us warmly, and seeing that the prices were quite reasonable, we each decided to buy one without much hesitation. With a bright smile, the owner handed us paper and a pen, explaining, "Write your blessings inside this pouch, hang it on your mobile phone, and your wishes will surely come true. After all, good days come from hopeful beginnings." Struck by inspiration, I suggested, "Since we're all gathered here by fate, why don't we write blessings for each other?" Everyone agreed happily. Lu Yuanyuan seemed to blush slightly, thinking of something. I playfully gestured to Li Zhuxin, saying, "Li Zhuxin, let's write together." Li Zhuxin, "No, I have this chilly feeling behind my back. It's kind of creepy." Me, "Of course. I couldn't tell you that it's because Jiangbai is staring at you with a cold gaze." Suddenly, Li Zhuxin said, "Lu Yuanyuan, why don't we write together?" Without hesitation, Lu Yuanyuan agreed. "Sure." I was baffled. "Darling, this was a perfect opportunity for you and Jiangbai to get closer." Just then, Jiangbai slowly pulled me aside and said softly, "Jiangqing, let's write for each other." Remembering the look in Comrade Jiangbai's eyes just now, I nervously nodded in agreement. The owner cheerfully handed us small slips of paper and a pen. As I picked up the pen, I hesitated. On my deathbed, I had said to Jiangbai, "Jiangbai, I really hope we could grow old together, living a long and lasting life." Now, after some thought, I solemnly wrote on the slip, wishing Comrade Jiangbai a harmonious marriage, a smooth life, and endless happiness. As the black ink seeped into the paper, I carefully rolled up the slip, placed it in the pouch, and exchanged it with Jiangbai. Then, I carefully hung the wishing pouch Jiangbai gave me on my mobile phone. The ancient town was filled with so many novelties. Eventually, Lu Yuanyuan and I switched into full shopping mode. Jiangbai and Li Zhuxin followed behind us, carrying bags both big and small without complaint. The result of such indulgence was that as soon as we got on the return bus, I was completely exhausted and fell asleep on Jiangbai's shoulder. All the way back to school, fortunately, I didn't talk nonsense in my sleep this time, but the real excitement was yet to come. 11. The joy of the autumn outing was fleeting, and the pressure of studies was eternal. Chewing on the end of my pen, I was completely stumped by the exercises in front of me. After all these years, my high school knowledge had long been returned to the teachers. I approached Li Zhuxin for help with the exercises, and he rolled his eyes. "Come on, big sis, see if my king seat is good enough. Why don't you go find Jiang the scholar?" Me, I had specifically waited for Jiangbai to be called to the teacher's office before coming to you. Li Zhuxin sighed. "You and Jiangbai have been off lately. If you want to avoid him, then go find Yuanyuan." Calling me big sis and her Yuanyuan. Suddenly, it dawned on me. Right, how could I forget Sister Yuanyuan? I immediately planned to ditch Li Zhuxin, but he also grabbed a workbook, saying, "I have questions too." Meeting my incredulous gaze, he sheepishly said, "What? Only you're allowed to strive for excellence and not me." Me, man, something's off with you. Together, we went over to Lu Yuanyuan's seat, but as she saw us approaching, she immediately covered her face. Seeing her unusual behavior, I asked in confusion, "Yuanyuan, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Upon hearing this, Li Zhuxin's tone also turned anxious. "What happened? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Do you need to go to the infirmary?" The moment he spoke, cheers erupted around them. The class representative explained, "Lu Yuanyuan chose dare and has to hug the first boy who talked to her for 10 seconds. Haha." Lately, the students in the class had become hooked on the quick and exciting game of truth or dare. As soon as it was break time, groups formed to play, filling the air with laughter. Suddenly, Li Zhuxin blushed and stuttered. Is that so?" Lu Yuanyuan nearly shrank into herself like an ostrich, amid the teasing from the classmates. At the crucial moment, Li Zhuxin awkwardly and as if marching to his doom, bent over and gently hugged Lu Yuanyuan, then said, all right, I urgently need to go to the bathroom, let's end it here." Watching him flee the scene, I couldn't help but scoff. Li Zhuxin, who usually acts all high and mighty, just couldn't handle it when it mattered. As the classmates were setting up another round, Lu Yuanyuan slowly lifted her head, her face red, and said, "I'm out, you guys continue." "Oh come on, we were just having fun, keep playing." Yuanyuan, forget it, look at how shy Yuanyuan is, let's not force her, maybe someone else can take her place, it's no fun with fewer people. "Hey, Jiangqing, are you in?" I was about to refuse, but Lu Yuan was tugging at the hem of my clothes, looking at me with pleading eyes. Alright then, I took Lu Yuan's place in the game. A pen was placed on the ground, and whoever it pointed to was the unlucky one. The first few rounds were uneventful, but you can't walk by the river without getting your shoes wet. Eventually, the pen pointed at me. Calmly, I said, I choose dare. Truth or dare is never truly about truth. Drawing a card, profess your feelings to your desk mate in 10 heartfelt sentences. Is it too late to drop out now? I silently prayed that Jiangbai would come back later, ideally. The teacher would keep him until after class before he returned, but, lo and behold, Jiangbai appeared at the classroom door a few minutes before class. As soon as the Dare Games hero appeared, the whole class fell silent. I nervously stood up from my seat. My heart began to pound faster and faster, as if thousands were drumming loudly inside it, the sound loud and urgent. It felt like countless birds swooping over the sea at high speed, all soaring towards the sky. Followed by a towering tsunami that engulfed me, leaving me struggling to breathe in the sea. In the silence, Jiangbai walked towards me. I was somewhat dazed, almost seeing his figure overlapping with the college student Jiangbai we would be together in the future, the Jiangbai in his wedding suit, and the Jiangbai who takes off his coat and gently smiles at me after work. Finally, Jiangbai stood in front of me. He quietly asked, Jiangqing, why is your face so red? Is my face red? I slowly realized, feeling as if my face was on fire. It's okay, it's just confessing to my husband again. Damn it, it's not okay at all. I swallowed, trying to pinch my fingers behind my back to keep calm, and said with a trembling voice, Comrade Jiang Xiaobai. He gently hummed in response. I bowed my head slightly, trying to appear indifferent, but my voice trembled uncontrollably. I like you, I really like you, I like you very much, I like you a lot, you're my favorite, in this world, you are my absolute favorite, I like you the most, I really, really like you so much. I couldn't tell if my voice was choked up, I just kept speaking, feeling a mix of excitement, sadness, and sorrow swirling inside me. I tried my best to keep my expression normal and my tone steady. A torrent of love threatened to overwhelm me, my feelings deafeningly intense. But I had to mask them under the guise of a joke. I could only use the simplest of sentences to encompass a love that once vividly existed, which now only I knew about, a love that spread throughout my life. The whole class erupted, with whistles, cheers, and applause mingling and soaring endlessly. It was then that I heard Jiangbai's gentle voice, firm and clear, I like you too. My heart skipped a beat, and I suddenly looked up to meet his clear gaze, which only reflected my figure. The bell rang just in time, drowning out his voice. This was a confession heard only by the two of us. Throughout the class, I couldn't calm my emotions for a long time. In contrast, Jiangbai next to me was extremely serious during the class, taking neat notes, which made me feel both relieved and somewhat resentful. Just when I thought this matter had quietly passed, and I was about to hastily flee from my seat after class, Jiangbai caught me. Jiangbai, where are you going? Me. To ask a question, Jiangbai, ask me, oh, suddenly I need to go to the bathroom. Jiangbai, I'll go with you. Darn it, with things having come this far, there was no escaping anymore. I resigned myself and sat back down honestly. Jiangbai looked at me and slowly said, you heard what I said just now, didn't you? I pretended to be oblivious. What did you say? It's about me saying I like. I heard it. I hastily replied. My heart just having calmed down couldn't start racing again. Jiangbai quietly watched me. So, what do you think? I struggled to say, Jiangbai, I like someone else. The things I said just now, it was because I lost a truth or dare. I don't mind. You like him, I like you. Jiangbai's tone was light, as if commenting on the nice weather, but his right pinky twitched fiercely. What if I said I've always seen you as just a buddy, Jiangbai? Jiangbai's smile froze on his face. Jiangbai, why do you have to demean yourself like this? A pang shot through my heart, and I forced a smile. Jiangbai, think about it. There are so many girls who like you. Why hang yourself on a crooked tree? You can't give up a forest for one tree. Jiangbai shook his head, looking straight at me, his tone even carrying a hint of pleading. They are all nice, but they are not you, she said. Sigh, what do you see in me? I'm noisy, restless, and have a bad temper. Jiangbai cut me off. His tone firm and unequivocal. You are perfect in every way. I wouldn't choose them, I would only choose you. I clenched my fists, lowered my head, my nails digging into my flesh. Finally, I spoke softly, but I won't fall for you. You're not my type. Jiangbai turned pale in an instant. He tried to muster a smile, but it was like a candle flickering weakly in the storm, struggling to stay lit. I can wait for you. Just remember that I like you. Don't feel burdened by this. I just want to be by your side, that's enough for me. I really won't bother you, truly, whenever you think of me is fine. His eyes reddened as he spoke gently, cautiously. Is that okay? Seeing his appeasing smile and his unconsciously trembling hands, my heart was filled with a bitter sweetness. Jiang Xiaobai, how could I harden my heart again to say no good? If only I weren't plagued by a genetic illness. If only I could stay healthy and be by your side throughout life. How wonderful that would be. Pain spreads between us, scorching us both. This conversation ends in nothing but mutual destruction. Just then, Lu Yuanyuan came to my rescue. Looking embarrassed, she said, Qingqing, I need a favor from you. Lu Yuanyuan took me to the rooftop. Yuanyuan, did you say you like Li Zhuxin? Lu Yuanyuan hurriedly gestured. Qingqing, keep your voice down. I quickly covered my mouth, catching her shy, evasive eyes, feeling like the world was spinning. Wait. Isn't this going off script? What about your undying love for Jiang Xiaobai, your devotion to no one else but him? I thought I was playing matchmaker. Turns out I'm trying to break you two apart. Thinking of Li Zhuxin's usually irreverent and carefree demeanor, and Lu Yuanyuan's gentle, demure nature, I was shocked. Yuanyuan, what do you see in him? In a soft voice, Yuanyuan said, Qingqing, do you remember those girls who bullied me? Not long after that happened, I saw Li Zhuxin threatening them, telling them to behave and not to hurt me again. He looked so cute when he was fierce. She giggled softly, a girlish charm about her. I fell silent. Li Zhuxin doesn't usually meddle in others' affairs. Could it be that they both secretly have feelings for each other? And in my previous life, the bullying Lu Yuanyuan faced was also quietly resolved. Could Li Zhuxin have been involved then too? Right, I remember. There was no news of Li Zhuxin getting married in my past life either. I feel like I've uncovered a significant secret from my past life, but it seems like he doesn't like me. Lu Yuanyuan's eyes slowly reddened. He wouldn't even hug me more today. Does he, perhaps, really dislike me? Maybe he stood up for me just because we're classmates. Oh no, the beautiful girl is about to cry. I hurriedly said, of course not. He's not blind. How could he not like such a cute girl like you? What if he really doesn't like me? Then he must be truly blind. Lu Yuanyuan. Sobbing, wiping her tears, Lu Yuanyuan said, I want to ask him out to talk, but I'm afraid he won't agree if it's just me. Qingqing, can you and Jiangbai come along? Me? That's a bit difficult. Lu Yuanyuan, with a look of pitiful hope. Alright, for my sister's sake, it's not impossible. 3 days later, me, Lu Yuanyuan, Jiangbai, and Li Zhuxin stood at the entrance of the amusement park. The same old formula. The same old battleground, but with entirely different relationships. When riding the roller coaster, Lu Yuanyuan, Li Zhuxin, ha 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 ha, me, woohoo, Jiangbai. When in the haunted house, Li Zhuxin, please don't scare me anymore, I beg you. Lu Yuanyuan, it's all fake, don't be scared. Me, child's play, not thrilling enough, we could add some fake blood here, hang a dummy there. Jiangbai, Qingqing, don't wander off, be careful not to get lost. When playing the escape room game, Lu Yuanyuan, it's hard to find the props. Li Zhuxin, where is this clue? And where is that one? Me, my brain can't keep up, someone help me, please. Jiangbai, I'm on it. Before we knew it, it was already evening. Halloween is just around the corner. And the amusement park is fully immersed in the festive spirit, adorned with pumpkin lanterns, skeletons, and other spooky decorations everywhere. There are various NPCs and performances organized throughout the park. Li Zhuxin and Lu Yuanyuan are having a blast and want to stay for a performance before heading home. She winked at me subtly, and I quickly understood, taking Jiang Xiaobai with me to step outside, giving them some time alone. The streets are bustling with people, their faces painted, wandering around in all sorts of bizarre and ghostly costumes. Jiang Xiaobai and I aimlessly wander through the chilly wind. Suddenly, a girl walking towards me catches my eye with the star-shaped lamp she's holding. The palm-sized, three-dimensional star emits a soft, warm glow in her hands, looking like a gentle little star held amidst the darkness. Following my gaze, Jiang Xiaobai spots the lamp and looks around, then points to a small stall on the right side of the street, saying, it looks like it's from there. The area is crowded, but Jiang Xiaobai tells me, wait here for me, I'll go get one for you. I obediently stand still, watching him make his way through the crowd, his white down jacket and handsome face standing out. As he is paying, a girl dressed as an elf approaches him with a bright smile, gesturing animatedly at him with a lively and radiant demeanor. It seems Jiang Xiaobai smiles back and chats with her. Many people turn to look at them. Naturally drawn by the attractive picture they make together, I watch this scene quietly, then send Jiang Xiaobai a message. Jiang Xiaobai, I want to wander around by myself for a bit, don't worry about me. I think it's good for Jiang Xiaobai to meet other girls since Yuanyuan has someone she likes now. I wander aimlessly and somehow end up back where Lu Yuanyuan and Li Zhuxin are watching the performance, unexpectedly. In just a short time, they are already holding hands, seeing me. Lu Yuanyuan quickly lets go, me, sorry to interrupt. As I turn to leave, Lu Yuanyuan rushes over to stop me, I didn't see anything. Lu Yuanyuan, it's okay if you did, I confessed to Li Zhuxin, and he agreed right away, happy as a fool. I laughed too, really, congratulations, Yuanyuan, young people these days sure move fast. Yuanyuan, all smiles, suddenly says to me, Ching, you need to hurry up too, me. I sincerely wish you and Jiangbai the best. I awkwardly smile, about to speak. When Lu Yuanyuan gestures for silence and whispers, Ching, don't worry, Jiangbai definitely likes you. Do you remember that autumn trip? Li Zhuxin told me that when you fell asleep on the bus, you talked in your sleep, asking Jiangbai, honey, what should we name our child? And Jiangbai tenderly replied, let's call them Yuanyuan, something full and complete. After that, I couldn't hear anything else Lu Yuanyuan said. It felt like I had been struck by lightning. Standing there stunned, the world around me seemed to wobble, as I was transported back to that moment. Honey, what should we name our child? Lying in the hospital bed, I asked Jiangbai, who was leaning on my belly listening to the baby's movements, gently caressing my belly. Jiangbai smiled and said, let's call them Yuanyuan, something full and complete. As a family, we lived our lives well. It felt as if my oxygen was suddenly snatched away, and I struggled to breathe deeply. Suddenly, I noticed the wish pouch tied to my phone. Intuition told me that the truth of everything lay here. All the absurd doubts and guesses in my heart could be resolved in the moment I untied it. With trembling hands, I slowly opened the pouch and pulled out a small piece of paper. Because my hands were shaking so much, the paper fell to the ground several times. I squatted down to pick it up and slowly unfolded it. The handwriting of Jiangbai Shuling came into view. I hope to grow old with Jiangqing, to live a long and lasting life together. This was my last wish before dying. This was not a wish that the current Jiangbai should know about. Suddenly, tears uncontrollably surged up, and I stood up and rushed outside, my eyes blurred with tears. Scenes flashed before my eyes. The bubble gum Jiangbai gave me, his sudden ability to blow bubbles, his focused gaze watching my wounds, the sadness while listening to the Little Prince story. Jiangqing, can you take good care of yourself? They are fine, but they are not you. I like you too. I don't mind. You like him. I like you. I just think being by your side is enough. It's all I need. I really won't disturb you, really. Whenever you think of me, it's okay. Maybe the little fox would willingly choose this. If given another chance, the little fox would make the same choice. I ran until I was exhausted, panting heavily, but I gathered all my strength and kept running forward without care. Jiangbai's figure appeared before me. He was waiting for me at the designated place, holding a bright star lamp, standing alone in the crowd, waiting persistently. I rushed into his arms, tears streaming down. Jiangbai was startled, and frantically asked what happened, what was wrong. I pressed his head down and kissed him passionately amid the tears. He was taken aback, then kissed me back even more fiercely, hugging me as if he wanted to merge me into his bones. I said, "Husband, let's never be apart again." Something cold dripped onto my face. It was Jiangbai's tears. Like a child, he cried uncontrollably in that moment. As you wish, wife, extra, previous life. In the 4th grade of elementary school, we got new neighbors next door. A young couple moved into the new house with a fair and delicate boy, about my age, curiously standing at the door. I saw the boy struggling with a large cardboard box about to fall, and quickly rushed to steady it. Our eyes met unexpectedly behind the cardboard box, and I gave him a sweet smile. The beautiful woman next to him sighed in relief, wiping the sweat from her forehead, and smiled warmly at me. "Oh, little sister, thank you so much," she gently said to the boy. "Jiangbai, aren't you going to thank her?" His name was Jiangbai. I stared at him intently, thinking to myself how incredibly fair he was. Unexpectedly, Jiangbai quickly concealed the surprise on his face, becoming distant and indifferent as he lightly said, "Thank you." The woman showed a look of disappointment, but still smiled to comfort me. "Little sister, Jiangbai didn't mean it. Don't be mad at him." It was only later that I learned, 3 months before moving Jiangbai had witnessed his beloved grandmother being fatally struck by a drunk driver right in front of their home. The tragic accident had dealt a heavy blow to Jiangbai. Since then, Jiangbai no longer wanted to get close to outsiders. His parents decided to move to help him escape that environment and bury those memories. At that time, I was unaware of all this. I just thought, wow, he's so cool and aloof. And he's really handsome too, being so young, how could I resist such beauty? I flashed a big smile and said carelessly, it's okay, he's so cool and different from anyone I've met. Jiangbai, Zhang's mother said cheerfully, really, then you should come and play with Jiangbai more often. I hope you two can become good friends. The cultured and refined Zhang's father also smiled and gently asked, little sister, what is your name? I proudly replied, Jiang Qing. Jiang is in the general hiding in the bushes. Qing is in the grass that's very green. Zhang's mother burst into laughter and said, that's a very creative introduction. Zhang's father also laughed, and then said mysteriously, together with Jiangbai, your names could form an ancient poem. He recited slowly, in the early morning alone by the tower, the autumn clarity washes over, mountains green, clouds playfully shaping. As the breeze begins with Jiangbai, the heart follows the leisurely sandbirds, eyes watching the sailing ships, facing the scene, thoughts linger on people. Gazing across 1,000 miles, Zhang's mother playfully scolded, there goes the university professor, caught up in his old habits again. They exchanged a smile. Later, I indeed became a frequent visitor to Jiangbai's home. Life was tough for my single mother and me. Zhang's parents were very understanding of my mother's difficulties, so whenever she couldn't look after me, they warmly welcomed me to their home. Over time, our families naturally grew close. Jiangbai and I naturally became classmates. After all, the only elementary school nearby was the one I attended, and fortunately, Jiangbai ended up in my class as I had hoped. At that time, Jiangbai's aloof, distant demeanor intimidated many classmates and sparked much gossip. Luckily, I was talkative and thick-skinned, ignoring others' strange looks and staying by Jiangbai's side. I knew that Aunt Jiang and Uncle Jiang hoped Jiangbai would have friends. I also hoped that by doing so, I could help him open up a bit, even just a little, to repay their kindness. After all, I liked Jiangbai a lot. On our way to and from school, Jiangbai walked in silence, and I would keep talking. When doing homework together, I would gently ask him about problems I couldn't solve. If any boy in class dared to challenge Jiangbai, I would stand up to them fiercely. Whenever my mom bought me new snacks, I would share them with Jiangbai. Time seemed to fly by. Then one day, Jiangbai asked me, what's the point of doing all this? I was puzzled and asked, point, Jiangbai quietly said, a person can suddenly leave forever, just like my grandma did. Jiangbai has always been a smart kid, grandma's little darling. His kind grandma, who would gently stroke his head and give him snacks, had suddenly left without any warning. He knelt beside his blood-soaked grandmother, crying heart-wrenchingly, repeatedly calling, Grandma, wake up, please wake up. But he knew clearly that his grandmother would never wake up again. What about the other people around him? If you build deep connections time and again, only to have them leave time and again, and experience that sorrow over and over, what's it all for? It was too painful. He didn't want that. He was precocious, facing the painful realities of life and death at a young age, yet, he was also naive, not knowing how to cope with it all. I didn't understand why Jiangbai would ask such a question. But I felt I needed to respond, otherwise it would be too awkward for him, so I said, well, my dad has left me forever. He was a policeman and died in the line of duty while my mom was still pregnant with me. I know it's impossible, but I always fantasize about meeting him just once. It wouldn't be a long meeting. We'd probably only exchange a few words, just enough for him to see what I look like. It would be great if he could hug me. I know it's unrealistic. And that meeting wouldn't change anything, probably wouldn't mean much either. No matter what, my dad is gone, and all I can do is take good care of my mom, study hard, and later on, take her out to enjoy good food and fun times. Why think so much? Just cherish the present. If you're sad about your grandmother's death, I'm here for you. Right, I should be able to live a very long time. I rambled on, but Jiangbai ultimately didn't say anything. However, the persistent coldness in Jiangbai's heart eventually began to fade layer by layer. At that time, Jiangbai wondered if some people, despite knowing the end, still yearned to meet. He thought he and Jiang Qing could go a long way, for a long time, but time seemed to pass quickly, and adversity struck unexpectedly. The joy of confessing his feelings successfully, the sweet reluctance of being deeply in love, the cherished promises made at their wedding. The considerate partnership in running a family, those wonderful days were vivid in his mind, making the diagnosis particularly bitter. He was a doctor, fully aware of how incurable Jiangqing's illness was. Originally, he wanted to be a doctor to lessen the grief of being separated by life and death in this world. He saved many people, yet ironically, it was because he was a doctor that he now realized more clearly that his beloved, in the prime of her life, would soon leave this world. Night after night, he reviewed countless documents, secretly consulting numerous doctors with Jiangqing's medical records. Though the outcome was clear, he tried to overturn everything he had learned, just hoping for a slim chance for his beloved, and as Jiangqing ultimately passed away during the first snow, leaving with their child into an eternal sleep. The vast world turned uniformly white. People cheered for the auspicious snow, but his world lost all its color. Later, Jiangbai curled up in front of Jiangqing's grave during a heavy snow, resting his head on the cold tombstone, gently murmuring, "Didn't you say you would be with me for a very long time, Jiangqing, you liar?" Indeed, that was the case. Every scene evokes a person. We gaze across 1,000 miles, Jiangbai often thought. If there really were a next life, would their story be different? If he could see Jiangqing again, if there were ifs. Jiangbai's eyelids grew heavy, and the snow fell thickly upon him as he closed his eyes wearily. "Now, solve this problem. You have 5 minutes," a robust voice announced. Jiangbai suddenly opened his eyes. He looked up dazedly. The stern math teacher stood at the podium, and a high school workbook lay before him. His classmates were all writing furiously. The surroundings eerily silent, everything so real it seemed unreal. Jiangbai could only hear his own racing heartbeat. He sat rigidly, unable to move, fearing to disturb a beautiful dream. He rigidly stared at the math problem in front of him. If this were high school, then the person who would be sitting next to him now would be Jiangqing. His eyes suddenly moistened. He silently took a few deep breaths, trying to calm his trembling body. It felt like a century had passed before he slowly turned his head to meet the intense gaze of the girl next to him. Those eyes, which he hadn't seen in a long time, were clear and focused on him. For a moment, Jiangbai wanted to hug her tightly, but his excitement caused him to fall off his chair instead. Bang! Laughter erupted around the room, and the classroom atmosphere suddenly became lively. There were concerned voices from classmates and teachers, but Jiangbai seemed not to hear them. Those sounds felt distant. All he saw was Jiangqing's bright smile. "Jiang Xiaobai, am I that scary?" Side story. In this life, what, doctor? You're saying it's impossible for me to have ALS? Could you repeat that? I stared wide-eyed, incredulous and a mix of shock and joy as I looked at the female doctor. The female doctor said impatiently, "You've asked too many times. We have professional medical equipment and doctors. If you don't believe it, you can go to another hospital for another check, but I assure you the result will be the same." She sighed. "Do you think you're opening a mystery box? ALS isn't something you can just randomly get." When Jiangbai led me out of the hospital, I was still in a daze. Jiangbai gently shook my hand. "Snap out of it," I blankly said. "Jiangbai, how is this possible? Did we not only travel through time but also transform completely, or do we have some sort of superpowers? This world is too fantastical." Jiangbai shook his head. "I'm not sure either. Maybe we've come to a parallel world where you don't have the genetic disease, or perhaps it's some other cosmic mystery that we can't understand." He smiled. "But regardless, this is good news for us. We should cherish the present." I nodded vigorously. "You're absolutely right." As we walked down a sparsely populated path lined with ginkgo trees and covered in golden leaves, I felt uplifted by the beautiful scenery and too lazy to think about complicated matters. I became excited. "Wow, Jiangbai, I just thought, what if the university entrance exam questions in this world are the same as back home? If they are, we could really hit the jackpot. But I can't remember much. Can you?" I regret not paying more attention to lottery information in my past life. Maybe I could have won a few billion by now and just relaxed for the rest of my life." "Jiangbai, do you still want to be a doctor in this life, or do you want to try a different career?" "I definitely won't choose last year's major again. It's like repeating high school. I definitely want to change it." Jiangbai. I talked on and on while Jiangbai held my hand and quietly listened. "Jiangbai, be honest, were you jealous when I said I like Li Zhu Xian?" I leaned against his arm and blinked at him. Jiangbai flicked my forehead and coughed lightly, his eyes dodging. "Not jealous." I expressed dissatisfaction. Really, that makes me so sad." Jiangbai lightly chuckled and coughed again. "Okay, maybe a little, just a little. That still makes me so sad." I suddenly pulled away my hand and huffed loudly. Jiangbai stopped walking, looking around. There was no one in sight. Suddenly, he pulled me into his arms and kissed me. I embraced him willingly, savoring the tender, lingering kiss. It seemed as though a breeze swept by, scattering ginkgo leaves all around us. When we parted, a few leaves had fallen on our heads. We laughed as we brushed the leaves off each other and then continued walking hand in hand. Jiangbai looked at my blushing ears and teased, "Even after all these years, a kiss still makes your ears red," I retorted, not without displeasure. "And after all these years, you still get jealous without admitting it." Jiangbai chuckled. "Alright, I admit, I do get very jealous." At that moment, he thought, even if Jiangqing really fell for someone else, he would be content to silently stay by her side. He was only afraid that someone might not treat her well and let her down. He also worried that someone might not know how to care for her when she was ill, possibly abandoning or hurting her. The idea of his treasure in someone else's hands was always nerve-wracking. He feared they might handle her carelessly. He always felt that he was the best protector for her. Fortunately, he was still the one by her side. The road stretched out before them. They had a long life ahead to walk together. Jiangqing suddenly spotted a small orange cat ahead and excitedly ran over to crouch down, giggling foolishly as she softly said, "Hey hey hey kitty, what are you doing here all alone? You might run into weird sisters like me, you know." The cat meowed affectionately and lazily rubbed against Jiangqing's legs, making her scream excitedly at Jiangbai. "Ah, ah, ah, Jiang Xiaobai. It's so cute." Jiangbai watched this scene from a distance, his heart warmed by a gentle, enduring softness. Jiangqing waved at Jiangbai with a smile and called out, "Jiang Xiaobai, come here, quick." Jiangbai smiled softly and walked towards her, saying gently, "Yes, coming." No matter how time changes or circumstances evolve, the little fox always waits for that person to return, just like them. As long as she is there, he will always walk towards her. Story 2, Add Me on V, MMY 66618. More great book recommendations in my moments, including daily headlines and monthly subscriptions on Jihu. Search by name to see full chapters. Me, perfectly performing the clichés of exciting stories __ Little Lamb Skewers, Jiu Sherba. Romantic ambiguities arose between the childhood friend and the school tyrant's stepmother. Their affair was unexpectedly revealed, leading to the tragic death of the school tyrant's stepmother. Years later, the childhood friend achieved fame and success. The first thing he did was pour scalding oil down my throat, torturing me to death. Only then did I realize, after he knew of my secret crush, he believed I had deliberately betrayed him, ruining his love. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I discovered their affair. 1. Song Yanli sat in front of me, calmly reading my diary. Every line, every page, recorded the bitter secrets of my youthful crush. As he reached the end, his eyes cold, he kicked me in the abdomen. Jing he. Being liked by someone as despicable as you is truly a mockery. The sudden pain made my body arch, agonizingly, yet I was unable to scream. Before this, Song Yanli had poured burning hot oil into my throat, rendering my voice useless. Breathing, which sustained life, became a cruel torture inflicted upon me. My painful expression greatly pleased Song Yanli. He gripped my chin, his voice sinister as a snake. Jing he, it was bad enough that you liked me, but why did you have to use such vile methods to break up me and Ali? Why go and inform on us? My Ali was so beautiful, yet because of you, she ended up disfigured. I stared at him in disbelief. So, this is why he was taking his revenge on behalf of Li Yuchu, too. Song Yanli and I were childhood friends. Once, when he had a fever, I went to deliver medicine and accidentally discovered him and Li Yuchu sharing a kiss. At that time, I was still secretly in love with Song Yanli. When I learned they were together, my first reaction wasn't shock, but panic. Song Yanli was still a student. If people found out about his affair with a married woman, I couldn't imagine the rumors that would follow. Moreover, Li Yuchu was no ordinary woman. She was the school tyrant's stepmother. What if this ruined Song Yanli's future? I couldn't bear to see him fall from grace, so I earnestly advised him to think of his future. However, Song Yanli took this as a badge of unwavering loyalty, bragging about it to Li Yuchu. They flaunted their love in front of me. Love cannot be concealed forever, and half a year later, their affair was exposed. Li Yuchu was brutally beaten by her furious husband, her right face scarred by glass shards. Unable to cope with the assault, she committed suicide. Being a student, Song Yanli narrowly escaped the consequences. Regarding this matter, Song Yanli and I have clarified it countless times. He believed me too. I thought he believed me because we were childhood friends, knowing each other's true nature. Only now do I realize that Song Yanli never truly believed me. He was merely waiting for his chance to take revenge. When my parents found me, I was already a cold corpse in the morgue. Song Yanli knew exactly how to destroy a person. He purposefully had a gang abuse me and filmed it. After my death, he spread the video online, paid people to slander me as attending debauched parties, implying I got what I deserved. My parents, having to bury their child, faced scorn from others. They were devastated, aging a decade overnight. In the deep of the night, holding my memorial tablet, they wept inconsolably. I watched as they lost their jobs, sold their house and car, living day to day on bread and pickles. 12 years after my death, my file was sealed in a brown paper bag, tucked away in a corner of the police station. No one cared, yet they tirelessly strove to uncover the truth behind my murder. The night before the truth was revealed, Song Yanli paid a visit. My parents warmly welcomed him, grateful for the physical evidence he had sent. It was not until they drank the drugged wine and their consciousness began to blur that Song Yanli revealed his true colors, with a mad gleam in his eyes. He proudly played a video of my final moments in front of them. Fools, did you really think I was helping you covertly for no reason? Of course, it was because I am the murderer. Watching you scurry around like sewer rats over the years has been quite entertaining. Song Yanli took pleasure in performing a reenactment of my struggle and despair in front of my parents. These secrets, only the dead can keep. Laughing, Song Yanli left after setting fire to the house, destroying all the evidence. However, Song Yanli was unaware that his crimes were being broadcast live to the public through a hidden smartphone inside the house. Amidst the roaring flames, my parents slightly smiled, holding my memorial tablet close. Hee, don't be scared, Mom and Dad are coming to find you. A year ago, my parents had already discovered the truth, but Song Yanli was wealthy, and rashly accusing him would have been futile. Determined to face death, they planned this deadly trap today. They feigned cooperation with Song Yanli, letting him grow complacent, clarifying the past. The live broadcast of the arson had a huge impact, and Song Yanli, with his heinous crimes, was sentenced to death. But Song Yanli spent a fortune hiring the most famous legal team in the industry. Under the onslaught of money, his death sentence was reduced to life imprisonment. For the powerful, life imprisonment is no different from being set free. Song Yanli only served 3 years before he was released. Fortunately, karma exists. A month after his release, Song Yanli was stabbed to death by a deranged person with mental illness. Upon reopening my eyes, I was reborn. Tears welled up as I looked at the familiar surroundings. My mother's nagging was in my ears. My ears buzzed. The bed was only 3 meters from the door, yet I stumbled as if I had been running for a lifetime. My mother, not understanding, touched my forehead. Are you feverish too? My mother was strong-willed. My father gentle and loving. Normally, I wouldn't act so affectionately with my mother. She took out a thermometer, asked me to place it under my arm, and felt somewhat relieved when she saw there was nothing wrong. The flu is severe lately. Take care of your health at school. Don't let it affect your studies. Here, take this medicine. Weren't you fussing about Xiao Yan having a fever yesterday? Her words made me suddenly look up. I remembered which day I had been reborn to. Today was the day I discovered the flirtation between Song Yanli and Li Yuchu. That scene, I could never forget. Li Yuchu leaned on Song Yanli languidly, asking him, who do you think is prettier, me or this girl? Song Yanli, feverish and delirious, looked at her. His slow response displeased Li Yuchu, who bit his earlobe. Do you want this girl, or do you want me? Back then, I had a crush on Song Yanli and was both angry and annoyed, dropping the fever medicine and hastily leaving. This time, I still went to deliver the medicine, but deliberately took a long detour around the neighborhood. After seeing the familiar figure of Aunt Zhang at the south gate, I snapped back to reality. Aunt Zhang was a notorious gossip, unable to keep a secret, and knew everything that happened in the neighborhood. Seeing me with the cold medicine, Aunt Zhang expressed her concern thoughtfully. Upon learning that I was preparing medicine for Shi Yan, she complimented us, calling Shi Yan and me a golden boy and jade girl. Yes, Shi Yan. At that time, Shi Yan hadn't yet changed his name to Song Yanli, which he adopted after recognizing his ancestry. When Shi Yan changed his name, I asked him, why choose the name Song Yanli instead of just Song Yan? Yanli implies separation. I want to say goodbye to my unbearable past. Back then, I naively thought he was referring to his past of being mistreated and labeled illegitimately. It wasn't until the day I died When Shiryan went mad in front of me, that I truly understood. The Li in Song Yanli is from the initial sound of Li in Mandarin, chosen to remind me of the hatred before Li's death. Aunt Zhang and I chatted casually, as we said goodbye on the gravel path in our neighborhood. I slipped and fell to the ground. It had just rained the day before, and the path was slippery, so the fall was not unexpected. Seeing this, Aunt Zhang hurriedly helped me to the clinic in our neighborhood. Fortunately, it was just a sprained ankle, which would heal with a week's rest and wasn't serious. As the doctor was reminding me of the medication precautions, I stood up, ready to leave. No, I still need to deliver medicine to Shiryan. He's such a good student. If his fever turns him into a fool, wouldn't I be ruining his life? The doctor scolded me. Can't someone else deliver the medicine? Seeing this, Aunt Zhang volunteered bravely. It's just a box of medicine. You rest and heal. I'll help you. I whispered my thanks, my lips curling into a smile. After dinner, Aunt Zhang knocked on my door with a mysterious look on her face. She wasn't very adept at using the chat function on her phone, so she relied on direct conversation. Seeing me there, Aunt Zhang signaled with her eyes, and my mother quickly urged me to go back to my room to rest. Through the closed door, I could still hear the excitement and annoyance in their gossip. Unlike the simple, ambiguous kissing of past lives, this time, with my deliberate delay, Shiryan and Li Yuchu engaged in deeper communication. That boy Shiryan is still feverish. Goodness, couldn't he wait for the fever to subside before carrying on? Aunt Zhang, outraged, slapped the table as she spoke. Realizing I was still there, she lowered her voice. If others were to walk in, they might leave out of courtesy, leaving a way out for the two. But Aunt Zhang, having been let down by a scoundrel in her youth, easily empathized with her former self based on my performance at the clinic. Moreover, Shiryan's ambiguous partner was Li Yuchu, someone Aunt Zhang had feuded with early on, with new grievances adding to old. How could Aunt Zhang let things slide, since in a past life, Shiryan had pinned the blame of leaking scandals on me? In this life, I would fulfill his wishes and blow things out of proportion, making it known to all. After Aunt Zhang left, my father came to my bedroom. Let's not hang around Shiryan too much in the future. That boy is not okay. My father didn't expect my ready agreement and left, laughing, unable to contain his joy. Wanjun, I've talked to and you can't go back on the 100 yuan you promised me. Smiling, my father went out to claim his reward from my mother. Because of the sprain, I took a week off. Every day, I would look out the window. From my bedroom window, I could clearly see Shiryan's movements. In a past life, I would count down the time to go downstairs, just to casually bump into Shiryan waiting for the bus. Shiryan was a good student and handsome. He's tall and a favorite among the aunties. Every time I went downstairs, he was always surrounded by people. Now, Shiryan is still surrounded by ladies, seemingly unaffected by his popularity. It's no wonder. After all, when it comes to matters of men and women, it's usually the femme fatale who gets criticized. After I could walk again, I returned to school. High school was hectic, and within a week, my desk was piled high with test papers. I focused on sorting them out, with no time for anything else. During the break, my classmates gathered around me, eagerly inquiring about my injury. In the midst of our conversation, Shiryan came up. Shiryan has been acting strange these past few days. He hasn't been to school. Did something happen? I wasn't surprised. After being seen by Aunt Zhang that day, almost everyone in the neighborhood knew about Li Yuchu hooking up with a man. Given Shiryan's romantic nature, I guessed he went to comfort Li Yuchu. I echoed a few words and dropped the subject. I saw Shiryan again a month later. There was a hint of fierceness in his eyes as he approached me. Lin Jinghe, come out for a second. I need to talk to you. Oh, I'm very busy. I don't have time to hang out with you. Shiryan was annoyed, but he held back since we were in the classroom. The bell rang, interrupting what he was about to do. Throughout the day, he persisted, asking me repeatedly to come out. My desk mate couldn't take it anymore and secretly passed me a note. Shiryan rarely asks you for anything. Just go out with him. Shiryan was a top student with good looks and always had admirers, but over the years, he had never been involved in any scandals with female classmates. Even the teachers didn't consider him a priority for monitoring early romantic relationships, especially since he had publicly rejected the school beauty's confession, mocking her bluntly. I wouldn't date a girl who fails in math. Shiryan and I had similar academic achievements and grew up together. So when he rejected her, almost everyone thought he was indirectly confessing to me. They thought we weren't together because we adhered to the high school rule against early romances. But no one expected that Shiryen wasn't interested in girls his age at all. He liked older women like Liu Chu. Thinking about this made me feel nauseous. My desk mate sensed my attitude and said nothing, but I never expected Shiryen, that despicable jerk, to stoop to such a low level. On my way home, while I was still pondering my revision notes, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in the back of my neck and fell to the ground. When I opened my eyes, I was faced with Shiryen's disgusting face. My hands were bound, and I was lying in an unfamiliar warehouse. Shiryen stood in front of me, grabbing my neck. Lin Jinghe, it was you who sabotaged, making people catch me and Ollie, right? If it weren't for you, Ollie wouldn't have been ridiculed and cut ties with me. His eyes were wide and frighteningly red. Indeed, I had used Aunt Zhang, but in this life, I never appeared at Shiryen's house, yet he blamed me. Could it be that Shiryen had also been reborn? Isn't it natural to be mocked? What right do you have to lash out at me? I couldn't help but mock him in return. Shut up, you wretch. Shiryen slapped me across the face. Luckily, I was quick enough to dodge. If he wanted to hit me, I wasn't going to make it easy for him. I kicked forcefully, hitting Shiryen in the abdomen. Caught off guard, he fell to the ground. Seeing him in pain eased the frustration in my heart a bit. It's a pity my legs aren't longer and more flexible. A few more inches would have been better. My actions infuriated Shiryen. He spat out blood and walked towards me menacingly. The man before me overlapped with Song Yanli, who had tormented me in the past. Song Yanli wasn't the sensitive and proud Shiryen. He was sinister and ruthless, showing no mercy. He grabbed my hair and slammed my head against the wall. Jinghe, do you know Wang Ershao? He asked. Wang Ershao, of course, I knew him. He was the mentally ill man from our neighborhood. They say he used to run a bun shop, but after his wife ran off with someone else, he couldn't handle the shock and went mad. I stared at Shiryen in disbelief. Seeing my reaction, Shiryen laughed even harder. Jinghe, what does a bachelor who hasn't touched a woman in over a decade do when he suddenly decides to indulge? Does he even know where to start? With a rip, Shiryen tore my clothes. Enjoy what's to come, Jinghe, he said, as he opened the warehouse door and let Wang Ershao, who had been waiting outside, come in. Then he left, swaggering out the door. With a clang, the door was locked. This time, I had miscalculated. I hadn't anticipated Shiryen's resurrection, nor had I imagined he would go to such insane lengths for revenge. The resurrected Shiryen, a longtime holder of power, was arrogant and self-assured, but I was confident I could outwit him. The key was escaping from Wang Ershao. In the dim warehouse, Shiryen had left behind a flashlight. This was not out of kindness, knowing I was afraid of the dark. He was worried that the deranged Wang Ershao might not find me. I gripped the flashlight tightly, smashed it, and picked up the shards of glass to slowly cut through the ropes binding me. The warehouse was eerily quiet, the heavy breathing of a man the only sound. Ignoring the blood from my chafed wrists, I quickened my pace. Finally, the rope was severed, but Wang Ershao had located me. I had only run a few steps when he grabbed my ankle. Chuckling, he pounced. Hee, let hubby give his wife a kiss. I struggled with all my might, but I wasn't strong enough to contend with a mad adult male. Luckily, fortune favors the brave. I found a rock on the ground and knocked Wang Ershao unconscious with it. After he was out, I stacked some wooden boxes to reach a higher position and smashed the warehouse's window to escape. Before Shiryen left, he took my phone, leaving me unable to call for help. It was a dark, windy night, with heavy shadows from the trees along the road. Every sound made my heart race with fear. What scared me more was the feeling that someone was following me. In that moment, I ran faster than I ever had before, but the person behind me was even faster. Before I knew it, I had run into a dead end. The person was closing in, and I gripped a brick tightly in my hand. Lin Jinghe, are you okay? A somewhat familiar voice reached my ears. I paused for a moment, recognizing the name from my blurry memory. Shi Yubai, why are you following me? Shi Yubai touched his nose and said, following you? I was just curious. Why were you not heading home late at night and coming out from my family's warehouse instead? It turned out that was Shi Yubai's family warehouse. I'll compensate you for the broken warehouse window, but first, please take me to the police station. The police station. It wasn't until the moonlight cleared the clouds and shone on me that Shi Yubai noticed my current distressed and embarrassed state. At the police station, I methodically explained to the police how Shiryen had kidnapped me earlier that day. After finishing my story, I showed the female officer the marks on my body from the ropes and the bruises left by Shiryen's beating. After completing the statement, Shi Yubai handed me his jacket, saying, it's cold tonight, wear this so you don't catch a cold. I knew it was a kind gesture from Shiyubai and accepted it without protest. The kind policewoman offered me a cup of hot water to comfort me. Soon, my parents arrived at the police station, caught off guard by the situation. My father didn't even realize he had lost one of his shoes. My mother, puzzled, asked me, "Hee, didn't you text me saying you were going to your classmate's house to do homework tonight? How did you end up at the police station?" Sure Yan had been thoughtful enough to send a message to my parents, worried they might come looking for me due to my late return. I recounted the dangerous encounter I had experienced that day. Sure Yan's mother passed away early, and I pitied him for being alone, so over the years, I've always looked out for him in big and small matters, but I never imagined that taking care of him would lead to harboring such an ungrateful wretch. He almost had a fool ruin. Does he have no conscience at all? Soon, Sure Yan was brought to the police station. Seeing that I was unharmed, he looked disappointed. For such a trivial matter, you actually involved the police, Lin Jinghe. Don't you feel embarrassed? Moreover, you're standing here fine and well, without a missing arm or leg. What can you accuse me of? Besides, do you have any evidence it was me? My father was so angry he burst out cursing, wanting to hit him, daring to strike someone in front of the police. Aren't you afraid I'll accuse you of intentional harm? Sure Yan's words were infuriating. The duty policewoman timely spoke up. Brother Zhang, I think I've gone blind suddenly. I can't see anymore. You better take me to the hospital to check. The called police officer understood and pretended to assist her. Before leaving, he didn't forget to kindly remind, you all better not mess with anything in the police station. The surveillance is broken. Seeing no one in the police station, Sure Yan finally panicked. Shiyubai stepped in front of my parents. Uncle, Auntie, there's no need for you to worry about such a small matter. I'm used to handling these situations. I know where to hit the hardest. Shiyubai smiled as he struck Sure Yan with skilled precision. The technique used was one that didn't visibly show injuries, yet inflicted excruciating pain. After 10 minutes, Sure Yan was clutching his stomach, lying on the ground like a curled-up shrimp. Seeing him in that state, I stepped on his sore spot and kindly reminded him, "Did you check for any cameras around when you tied me up and took me to the warehouse?" It was only after Shiyubai mentioned that the warehouse belonged to his family that I dared to go directly to the police station. In my past life, the one who leaked the secret romance between Song Yanli and Li Yuchu wasn't anyone else but that very surveillance camera. Workers had installed it to catch thieves stealing from the warehouse. Unexpectedly,